Eastern.
Welcome to the Star Trek Discovery After Show right here on the Bladcast. I'm going to say the Bladcast Entertainment Network. It's not a YouTube network.
Ooh.
It's so entertaining. And because our friend Flobo's not with us this week, Nikki, I can say the Bladcast.
The only one.
The Star Trek Discovery After Show.
I love branding everything under Bladcast. You're a media mogul now. You're like David Geffen, Katzenberg, Christian Black.
A little bit more like David Brent, but I see what you're saying. In any case, I am Christian Black here to talk about the season 3 finale. We've already had people in the chat mention something that my friend Drexel texted me that it did feel like a series finale, but it is not. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Nikki Bailey, as always.
Hey.
And right back to where we started from, if we're going clockwise, as we did for the season premiere, Tom Kelly, TomKellyShow.com, and Mr. Jason Blair, who maybe could give us a little bit of the Star Trek theme on that piano behind him before we're done.
I think I got the sheet music for it somewhere. And I see we got the lyrics. Because have you heard the story about how Roddenberry wanted half the royalties? So the guy wrote the theme song, and then Roddenberry just added lyrics to it when he submitted it.
So he could get the publishing. And
I need to know what the lyrics are. I need to hear that.
We're not even 2 minutes in. And we're already going down.
We're already off topic.
I'm going to let you know that the theme from The Odd Couple, the TV version, also has lyrics for exactly the same reason.
Okay,
because somebody
I'm ready to sing
on
it.
the publisher. But
Ready? Yeah. Ready? Beyond the rim of the starlight, my love's wandering in starflight. I know he'll find in the star-clustered reaches love, strange love a star woman teaches. I know his journey never ends. His Star Trek will go on forever, but tell him while he wanders his starry sea, remember me.
Bum, 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 bum. A Desilu production.
Oh, Gene. I am very glad you did not actually make us have to endure those lyrics for
take that, Xander Courage. And my mom really appreciated that, Tom. She appreciated it.
There was only like 2 or 3 key changes in there. So.
Yeah, that's all right. Anyway, so our first episode of this particular series, when we focused on the season premiere, we did get a little bit of blowback because we barely talked about Discovery in that episode, but we had so much fun. And then remember, we did an after show of like 90 minutes afterwards that was it was actually not broadcast,
and it was really late too. So
especially for you guys. Yeah, for Nikki and I, it was fine. It was like 10 o'clock, 10:30, whatever.
We were chilling,
So we are going to focus on Star Trek Discovery. We are going to focus on season 3, and the majority of this conversation will be about episode 13. But Tom Kelly, you are actually not a huge fan of the show, and you had to catch up. So before today's show, how many episodes did you have to watch this week?
I watched 4 hours of Discovery this afternoon, and I have the same icky feeling in my stomach as I watched CNN during the Capitol raid this week. I feel, and quite frankly, just like democracy, I feel like Star Trek has been ruined as well.
Well, so I'm guessing you really enjoyed watching the Capitol siege, which really says a lot about you, Tom. Because obviously this was a great season of Star Trek Discovery, so I don't understand where you're coming from.
And now, and the only reason I feel awful, but I keep checking out of Star Trek Discovery, and I keep checking in because of you, Nikki, and Jason, and and quite frankly, during the pandemic, reviewing Discovery is really the best my career has been doing. So
me too.
Yeah. By the way, and Tom, in 2 more minutes, I'm gonna hold up the candle, which means you have to get off the stage.
No, I'm off the stage now, or I'll get off the stage now. I don't want to ruin it for everybody else.
No.
Gems. There are gems for it, but
I like getting the feedback from people who actively dislike a show. When, Nikki and I met doing shows for AfterBuzz TV, and the view there was that you should like the show. And I always loved having people that didn't like the show. And sometimes it was just as simple as I didn't like this episode, And I'm like, that's great. Don't pretend you like something that you don't. That's interesting because especially something that's like an existing property, an existing property like Star Trek, you're going to have people that have been fans for a long time and they still love Star Trek, but they don't necessarily love the show. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Nikki?
No, I was just going to say, when we were at AfterBuzz, I had somebody in a chat once call me the mean big lady because I didn't like an episode for Picard, and I was like, wow.
I mean, did anybody like more than maybe 3 episodes of Picard out of the 8?
Yeah.
I have a new friend who just asked me if they should watch it, and I said, watch the first episode for nostalgia's sake, and then stop. And they didn't stop, and now they're mad at me.
I would tell them only to watch the episode where Picard wears the eye patch.
That's a great point. You should just watch
That's the only episode you need to see.
And Jeffrey in the chat, bringing the fire. Discovery is to Star Trek as the rise of Skywalker is to potato. So, I personally just love that.
Okay.
All right. So
if I could just chime in on, this is my overall thing. I watch the modern versions of Star Trek, Picard and this, and I watch it and I keep thinking, God, this could be so much better. And I think Discovery is the victim more so than Picard. It's the show that doesn't know what it wants to be, and it tries to do everything at once because that's what Star Trek should be. They touched on trans issues. Like I was very impressed. But they sort of jammed it in, like with the transgendered issues.
Yeah,
they
did
jammed
that
it
badly.
in. Yeah. But I thought they did the gay relationship with Culver and Stamets perfectly at the beginning, anyway. But then Culver died and he was missing. You know what? It's just the show has ADD. And my favorite moments have been the mirror universe.
And I want to let Jason jump in, but I would say that what you're talking about is really due to behind the scenes. If you remember, this was Brian Fuller's show. Brian Fuller did 2 episodes, the first 2 episodes, which are radically different than the rest of the series, and he still gets that nice, executive producer check, of course. Mm-hmm. But it is and I believe, so this is the 3rd season. I think that they ended up with their 5th or 6th showrunner by the end of this season. So the behind the scenes changes have not helped, but a lot of shows do that. And then the show can still be good. Actually, Michael B says, I felt like season 2 was better than this one. This season felt off. Season 2 is still my favorite of the 3. I really enjoyed having Anson Mount as Pike, and I thought Ethan Peck as Spock was great. I also liked how much they dealt with I enjoy the mirror universe stuff probably more than the regular universe, which is I think what Tom was saying. But Jason, what were you going to say?
You were just talking about how it's so different from season to season, and I think I even texted you this earlier that season 4 I'm already not looking forward to the atrocious new Star Trek uniforms, the bland gray. They're the most reminiscent of either, I don't know if it's Battlestar Galactica or it's actually Star Trek the Motion Picture born.
Motion picture.
And they don't even have the cool Dick Tracy wristwatches, and by the way, as I told Jason on text, his keen eye for fashion sense is why we keep bringing him back. But you're absolutely right. I am
in the 31st century Star Trek outfits is what
in the 31st century clothes are just going to be boring. And that's why I wore this shirt. This is the season 1 Discovery shirt because it's a thing of the past now. So
you would think they would do something more with shoulder pads and color. I just don't understand why it's a bland gray, boxy, ugly yuckiness.
And also, I don't get why were the Star Trek uniforms that they wore in Discovery in season 2 so different than what they wore in the Enterprise?
Well, those were closer. those were closer to Enterprise, the series Enterprise. I think that they were a natural progression from the Enterprise as an Enterprise, the series uniforms.
But you would think Starfleet, they would. Why did everybody on Discovery in season 2 wear a blue uniform? But then you had, when they were on the Enterprise, everyone was wearing the golds and the
There
reds.
was a throwaway line. There was a throwaway line in season 2. Oh, you got the new uniforms? Here's why the uniforms were different, Jason, is because it's a TV show. And
it is not
shattered my dreams.
Yeah. No, it is a world.
Right.
It used to be a world, Nikki. This is
now
a TV
it's just
show.
a TV show.
Yeah.
All right. I'll
and one quick inside comment from the chat, Jason, Lynn B from the Dennis Miller option, Dennis Miller show. Very excited to see you. She's probably hasn't seen you before. Just heard those dulcet tones.
Yeah, she's a fellow Hoosier and then lived in Texas. I think she's in Ohio now.
And Lynn, just so you know, Lynn, Nikki, and I are here too.
Hi, if you wanted to just, say hello to us. Yeah, hi.
All right. So, Tom, just sort of some overall, I was going to say highlights, but I want to know the stuff that bothered you the most. And I had texted you. I was specifically interested in your thoughts. You and I have spent all the years that this show has been on talking a lot about Tilly, whom I have really come around on. I like her. I know how much you hate her. I know how much you hate her.
You hate Tilly?
Well, I wasn't crazy about Tilly. I wasn't crazy about season 1 Tilly, but by the end of season 1, I definitely came around. But I know, Tom, you still dislike her, but she's probably my second favorite character on the show, second only to Saru. But I thought that this arc in particular was going to drive you crazy.
Are you kidding me? It's like, it is worse than acting Ensign Wesley Crusher on a ship of 1,000 people running the helm. If anything, acting Ensign Crusher was more qualified to be on that bridge
than the Crusher hate.
Cadet Tilly.
Yeah, I will say the acting captain angle for her going from ensign to acting captain makes no sense, except from the fact that, like Tom says, it's a TV show. But then also, as soon as on the season finale, as soon as Michael gets on the bridge, she becomes like the Enterprise B captain on Generation. Like, you want to take the lead? Here, have my chair. Yeah. Have my chair. It's like.
Well, you know what though? But hang on here. If we're focusing only on the first officer arc and what happened here, first, let me go 2 things. First, Christian, I was texting Christian notes because I wanted to see if I was too angry about some of this stuff. If Star Trek had a catchphrase and it was to boldly go where no man has gone before, that was Star Trek's catchphrase. Star Trek Discovery's catchphrase is "Trust me." That's it. They just always say it's always an unqualified person or an untrustworthy person who has betrayed everybody before, who says, "No, you can trust me this time."
It is usually Michael. Yeah.
First, on the whole Ensign Tilly arc, you're telling me first of all, why are they submitting to the Federation? Let's put that on the side. And 2, you're telling me you now have a 900-year-old.
Oh, damn.
He got so worked up.
Damn. He angered his internet to the
Am I still here?
Your hate does not make you stronger. Yeah, I think you have to be less animated because
the bandwidth can't handle it.
No. The hard part is the Wi-Fi router's right there, so we're in trouble. But here's my thought, as I feel like there's somebody at Paramount pulling the plug on my Wi-Fi. They've traveled 900 years to the future. Why is any of the Discovery crew on this ship? Why hasn't they assigned? You're telling me not only on Discovery is there nobody more qualified to be first officer, but nobody 900 years in the future is more qualified than Ensign Tilly to sit in the first officer's chair.
One of the things that my partner said last night was, why is everybody on the bridge so young? Like the bridge crew in and of itself is just extremely young. And Ensign Tilly getting a promotion to first officer without getting an increase in rank made no sense to me. Though I did enjoy her in the captain seat.
Yeah, she's a great actress. Actually, I'll say this. The one thing I got out of the Terran episodes is she's kind of hot. And she's a great actress. I hate the character, not the actress. And she has been a victim of inconsistent writing from the beginning. I swear they were trying to make her on the autism spectrum in season 1. Then she was just quirky in season 2. And then in season 3, she's a budding woman who's about to take charge and come out of her shell. And then by the end of the episode, the lesson is though, but here's my problem with the writing on the episode is if you believe in yourself, you may ruin the whole fucking future. That's the lesson.
What were you going to say, Nikki?
Or instead of her being, inconsistent, maybe she's just grown from the first season. She's grown into this woman who.
Yeah, I'll give you that, Nikki. I'll give you that.
You did like a crucifixion sort of position. I was nervous.
I'm trying to express my anger without talking over people now. So please, if I'm waving without making noises, I'm letting you finish. Now I'm trying to not Trek-splain to all you losers right now.
Look, I think that they addressed not so much how she would become first officer, but how largely leaving the crew intact. It is this very unique vessel that is almost 1,000 years old. So you should leave the crew intact. But we even said on the show, Nikki and I were saying, why aren't there people from Starfleet inserted into the bridge crew? First of all, just to keep an eye on them at first. There was that female character that we expected to be somebody that was put on the bridge. Yeah. Basically, but so I don't know. But what did you think about this?
Christian? You know what they don't have? They needed a Neelix. They needed a guide to the 31st century.
Don't worry.
Because there's going to be things in the 31st century that they're not going to know about. I mean, I know that's maybe what book is there for, but it just seems.
But he's not. Yeah, but he's there in no official capacity, and even just a single observer on the bridge. Just like, oh, you know what? For diplomatic reasons, here's something you should understand. I mean, like the merger between the reunification of the Vulcans and the Romulans. That's very helpful to know that 1,000 years in the future, the planet isn't even called Vulcan anymore.
How many people allowed to even drive the streets? It's like saying, oh, by the way, Grandpa, I know you haven't driven in 15 years, but now we drive on the left side of the road. I mean, it's and there's nobody there to explain it.
Which is fine because my grandfather always drove on the wrong side of the road anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But in any case, So I don't know. I mean, I think that look, these are very valid concerns, especially Nikki and I making up a large pro Tilly contingent here on the show. But as our friend Flobo pointed out, that as acting captain, I mean, how long before the entire ship was overrun, and
and this is the lesson. And if I concede to Nikki for a second, that this is a woman blossoming, a woman who is not a stereotypical Star Trek character who blossoms from insecure to maybe not the Marina Sirtis person, maybe not the supermodel on the bridge. And what she shows us is if you're a regular person, you may one day believe you can become captain of a starship. And if you get your chance, you're going to fuck it up. That's what they taught us. Like, if you believe in yourself, you're probably wrong. That's what I've learned from Ensign Tilly in season 3. And
what were you going to say?
Bad writing.
What was that?
That is so not okay. I think that's a really interesting thing that you took away from that. I took away from that. First of all, it's not the first time that a first officer has taken over and then the ship has been crap has happened to the ship. Like, we've seen that happen before. But secondly, I think that you have to sort of allow for. No, that was not the lesson. You got the wrong lesson, dude. It's so what lesson did you get out of it? I got out of it that Tilly was able to hold her own in a conversation with the Karen of space, which is what Flobo calls her, Space Karen. And
she's definitely green space Karen. Absolutely.
She held her own in a nice little tete-a-tete, which was really wonderful. And then, for reasons beyond her control, they happened to take over the ship. She couldn't help it. She did the best she could.
Well, look,
hang
on 1 second, Tom. But so if Tilly had been captaining a a starship in a game of horseshoes, she would have done very well because she almost got away. She was this close to getting away. She even said black alert. So she was so close to getting away. She almost pulled it off, but then she didn't. What were you going to say, Tom?
No, well, first of all, why didn't she jump outside? Why didn't she jump back to the Federation 20 seconds sooner? I that part confused me. And second of all, Tilly, and my favorite part then is Tilly sitting in the captain chair is like, hey guys, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on, guys? They just listen, they built her up. Listen, I was rooting for her at that point, Nikki. I was rooting for her. And just weak writing. By the way, Odessa, what was her name again? Odessa, Texas? Osira is possibly the absolute worst Star Trek villain, and I'm talking about, and I'm even comparing her to Benedict Cumberbatch, White Khan.
Yeah, I've been holding off because I don't have a lot of strong feelings about this whole Tilly thing, and I've just sort of been watching you guys. But now that you're getting to the Osira thing, Christian and I talked about it. She is I don't know. You said she's Margot Kidder's
niece. It's niece. Margot Kidder's
apparently
niece.
That's the last name is what got her in there, because I don't care if she's angry, sad, whatever. Her eyes just look like this the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't care if she's going to kill you, if she's going to fight. And she just looks like this.
As Nikki and I talked about last week, only starting last week, she's sometimes British, but she's only like mildly British. It's like when Madonna went British but realized that it wasn't working.
Yeah. It's just, no matter what. I don't know if it's the green paint. I've been trying to see through the green paint. I'm like, well, maybe the green paint is sort of.
Well, you know what, Jason? We all need to see through our green paint, don't we?
Right. But I just can't. I'm just racist against green people.
Well, thank you. No, look, the fact that you could admit it is
admitting it. That's
I tried.
So,
but it doesn't matter. It just, no matter how enraged or whatever, it's just this. It was a whole season of this face. The entire season.
She's not. And this is the thing about making her green and making her Orion. That was purely to bait older fans who have always said, why haven't we had more Orion women on the show? That was totally to turn on 12-year-old me and to keep me focused. And they went nowhere with it. And that's, and she was an awful actress.
Terrible.
Terrible. And yeah.
And apparently,
the only thing I take issue with, Tom, is you misspoke when you said 12-year-old me. You obviously meant 44-year-old me. What were you going to say, Jason?
I thought it was interesting that their ship, that apparently they've taken Doc Octopus's tech, and so I kept waiting for Doc Ock to show.
Alfred Molina, that would have been amazing. But
I was waiting for a giant hand in space from season one.
That shocked us. Nikki and I were talking about it last week, and we expected the reveal this week. The fact that the ship was overrun. I mean, and last week, Osira says that she was surprised at how easy it was. Everything pointed to there being somebody inside Starfleet or even inside the bridge of the Enterprise that was giving her information, but there was none of that. And it's just like, well, it doesn't really add up that she was able to do it so easily, that she knew so much about them, that she knew what size helmet to prepare for Stamets. She knew so much that it's like, oh, cool. I can't wait to see who this is. We even went all around, I guess 3 weeks ago. We had some great suggestions from the chat as to like, well, who's the mole? The answer? Nobody. There was nobody.
It was so easy to break into the center of power in the universe. It's like people from QAnon apparently were hooked up with her. It was the Proud Boys. They got her in just like that.
Yeah. Instead of Starfleet security, it was the Capitol Police.
And they just stepped aside and they were like, oh, right this way, Emerald Chain. Which, by the way, that would have been an interesting story if somebody was like, Emerald Chain sympathizer. I really wanted it to be Book, by the way. I thought that would have been a great turn.
And it would have created a beautiful thing between Michael and and Book about how they manage that. That's good, Christian. I'm sorry, I got excited.
It's all right. We never got it. It's all right.
Have you talked about the Admiral much? Like, on the show?
what did I use? And this show's shot in Canada, right? Here's my thing about Osira. Yeah. Here's my thing about Osira and pretty much and the bridge crew of Discovery. It's all good-looking, low-talent Canadians running that show. That's what it is.
Look, I'm trying to not steer this into yet another Degrassi conversation, but it does seem that they go from the same acting pool. Just these are people who aged out of Degrassi and now they're on Star Trek Discovery. Yeah. Look, I do think there are some great actors, but I know what you're saying. Even
in a Just for Men commercial.
Who's that?
Like the guy who played the Admiral. Looks like he's on the cover of a Just for Men. Yeah. He just
stands there like this the whole time. He's like, so he just talks in this voice the whole time. I was like, is that his real voice, or is that just, I don't know. It's like the guy that plays on The Office that he talked like that, the accountant. And then he found out that he doesn't really talk that way.
Kevin.
Yes. Oh yeah, Kevin doesn't talk that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Admiral, like that guy, you'll see him in an interview, and he'll probably have like this real high like.
They definitely made him a more interesting character. No, it wasn't from his anecdote about his daughter doing math, but the way we saw him when the character was first introduced, I found him to be at least a little bit more, a little bit more dimensional than he appeared at first.
Yeah.
He wasn't the authority figure of, basically he seemed like he was going to have the role of the police captain who at the end of every episode is, give me your badge and your gun. Right. Of course.
I kind of thought of him as the head of the Team America on World Police. That guy who talks like this. This is your assignment now. You're going to go to this planet and you're going to fix this. And then they come back. Good job, team. That's like.
I really liked Admiral Vance until this episode.
This is the first episode I started to like him. Why did you not like him this episode, Nikki?
Because of how the episode ended. That little speech he gave Michael. We haven't gotten to that yet, so I'm going to wait.
Yeah, no,
but yeah, I was like, what? Oh, it just seemed like he went from being a very reasonable and even sometimes sensitive person to making the most absurd decision I have heard in so long. Like, it was just absurd. And his explanation for it. I thought his explanation for it was absurd. And I thought it, I liked him until Nikki, this. I now don't trust his judgment.
I kept waiting for the heel turn from the Admiral. Like, I thought that
he was somebody that we also thought was the bull. That would have made sense.
That we thought. I kind of thought at some point in the middle of this season, the crew of Discovery would figure out that within the last 1,000 years, the Federation is not what we thought it was or anymore. And come to find out, like, they're sort of the bad guy. I kind of kept expecting that turn in the season, but
and that's what they did with Picard, and that turned me off to Picard. That the Federation was the bad guys in the end.
Yeah, I just kept waiting for it. So I'm kind of glad it didn't happen, but I kept waiting for it. So.
Well, Tom, before we dive into this episode, we really spent a lot of time on Tilly, but I knew we would. What were the things you talked about? How there were gems along the way, and of course, you weren't keeping up with the show, and you jumped into this show just enough for me to spoil the Guardian of Forever, which is the only spoiler all season.
The two of you, you and Nikki.
Why would you come into this show and say no spoilers when the whole point of the show is we're going to talk about all the spoilers?
Because
listen, at the exact perfect time. It was
you literally at the 1 minute where I was spoiling anything.
Because listen, this is why I watch this show even when I'm not on it, is you very rarely talk about the show. It's a great conversation. I like the three of you. Yeah. The three of you are entertaining. I'm following Nikki on social media, and I'm following Jason. I mean, one day he'll start his tweet, but I'm also following Jason on his Parler account, just in case he starts that going. By the way, no, Nikki, don't make that face. You squat on your name right now. You go to Parler right now. You go take your name. Trust me. Before there's a Nikki B. Bailey who hates Star Trek and loves the Klan. You don't want that. Don't squat on your name. Go
You're
squat on your name.
Do it now.
You really should. Listen, it's Star Trek. I enjoy bridge banter. I actually did enjoy the woman who played Tilly, and I gave into the Tilly arc until the last 2 episodes, and then my hatred was validated. I actually tried to take the Tilly ride. I think Michelle Yeoh was great, except for when she wasn't. And I think the problem with the whole season has been they traveled 900 years into the future because they have this dangerous supercomputer. And then they didn't talk about the dangerous supercomputer again until the absolute last episode. I think Michelle Yeoh and the whole Empress thing could have been a great plot line, and they just never went all the way with it. I mean, if you think about how they portrayed her in season 2, I guess it was, she's Hitler. And basically they had Hitler from another dimension on the ship with them, and then they threw Hitler a going away party. It's just like the show is, then it isn't, and you have to be in the moment. The show would be a great YouTube show in 10-second bursts, And even for acting, I stand by this. There are Star Trek shows. Star Trek, I think it's not New Frontier. Star Trek: The New Voyages, and there's a couple of others. The James Cowley Star Trek, and then there's 3 other Star Trek series where it's fan-made stuff. And quite frankly, the woman who played Osira was worse than some of the fan fiction actors I've seen on YouTube. But there were gems. I enjoyed the guy. The guy who played Book is a great actor. He is friggin' charming. The cat was cute once or twice. The transforming ships bother me. I thought Discovery looked cool with the ground effects. It's like what my brother did to his Volvo in high school. Like the extra lighting, the neon blues kind of look cool. But the whole thing, but you know what? But if you treat it, see why, want to know why I don't like Discovery? Because I think of it in the whole arc of things. If it were just a single TV show, it wouldn't bother me so much. Like even compared to Picard, it out imagines itself. Like Picard, Picard was kind of cool. Look at me. We're in the 25th century. We have hologram stuff. Well, now we have Silly Putty that controls equipment. It just doesn't seem as spectacular, but on its own, it's fine. And I swear by it. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. It's Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda adapted for the Federation.
Yeah, that's actually, I remember you mentioned that in our first episode. And perhaps if this were Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, you might have enjoyed it more, although it would have been starring Kevin Sorbo. So that might have been a problem.
I want to be in the production room when the guys were saying, what they need in this time period is detached warp nacelles.
Why?
Why? Yeah, it was so pointless, and I'm like, why? It makes no sense, but whatever. I mean, it's just like,
and
why mess with it?
And I was suspending belief so much, but I was suspending belief on plot holes. And to Christian's point, and to repeat a joke I made on the first episode, but I'm doing it just for Craig Robinson now, which is, a show is going to be good when they have 12 executive producers in the credits. It's a 3-minute song, and it's like 5 actors and 50 executive producers and the writer. That's all you get in the damn credits. And they said something. This is the last smart point I'll make, and then I'm going to be a horse's ass for the rest of the show.
Oh, he's made smart points before. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize that we were in the smart point part of the episode. But please.
No, but this is my smart point. I just rewatched, and anybody here in the chat should look this up. What You Leave Behind, the Deep Space Nine documentary, is on YouTube for free now. And I watched that documentary once in theaters, and then I was skipping around it last week. And Ira Stephen Baird, one of the EPs who took over the show, made a great point about how they just kept screwing up Avery Brooks on Deep Space Nine. That they made history by accident, casting a powerful black man to run the show, but he was cast as a commander, lower than Captain Picard. And they said, if we knew we had Avery Brooks, we wouldn't have done that. Or if I were in charge at the beginning and we knew it was Avery Brooks, we wouldn't have just made him a commander. He was always a captain. And the one nice thing about Admiral Just for Men said at the end of Discovery was, that he said, Burnham, you don't do things by the book. You don't do your math right, but you come up with the right answer. And you're right. They should have just made her the damn captain at the beginning. And, they kept dancing around history. Yes, she was the lead character, but it's like, it was just getting annoying that Burnham was smarter than everybody and never in charge.
Yeah, but she, as we've learned this week, you shouldn't be rewarded for instituting a coup. So the fact that she ever became a Starfleet captain and it took 1,000 years seems about right. But yeah, no, but in terms of as the show, yeah, I can see how jumping into the future, that was not the person that they wanted to have as a captain. And Saru was already the captain. She didn't want it. You know what I mean? So they had it as a non-issue. I think if she didn't end this season as the captain, it would have been like, well, what are we waiting for? But I still prefer Captain Saru, but we'll see where that gets us. But Jason, let's talk specifically about, and it can obviously touch on other episodes this season, but the way that this specific storyline was wrapped up and where we find ourselves at the end of season 3. Jason, what did you think?
Yeah, now I don't know where they're going to go with Saru, to be honest, because I agree with you. He's my favorite character on the show. And I kind of really liked his role in that he did have the authority, even though necessarily he wasn't always right, but he had sort of a captain's mindset that it was good to create that drama for Michael and the other people that, were kind of acting more on the seat of their pants. This is what we got to do. And he would always sort of say, calm it down and talk in that really sort of captainly tone. I thought it made great drama for the show. And if he's not in that role anymore going forward, I'm assuming he's still on the show. They're going to bring him back, but in what capacity? Whereas, Michael's always been more of that fly by the seat of your pants. And now there's, not necessarily going to be that counterbalance that Saru brought to her. I mean, they might use the Admiral in that way. And you're not going to do that, Michael. And blah, blah, but at the same time, I really like that dynamic. And it seems like they just destroyed that. So that was one thing that I think going forward, I'm a little concerned about what that dynamic's going to be. And this, I think it just shows every season of the show is so different than the season before. Season 1 had nothing to do with season 2, and season 3 had nothing to do with season 2 either. So season 4, I think it's going to have a totally different feeling. Hopefully every time I'm like, it's going to feel more like Star Trek, because now it's like they've got this done. Now they can be setting up, going to, the old worlds and getting them, reintegrated into the Federation, and they're all going to have their own little problems. And, maybe it's kind of got more of that Mandalorian flair, where like he shows up on a planet, solves a problem, goes to the next one. And
well, that's exactly what somebody very smart in the chat says. My mom, she says the end of season 3 takes us back to the original series. They will go to a different planet each episode. I mean, for the most part, that's what Next Generation was. I mean, we're in an age where we're going to get multi-part, longer arcs and stuff. But for the most part, they will probably travel around more. And they've set it up to be more like Star Trek. But like you said, I've expected that before, and we'll see what we actually get. Tom,
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm rooting for a COVID-19 variant to sweep across the nation just to prevent season 4. Because at this point,
they're already in production. And they do it in Canada, and they apparently get their viruses under control.
They're already in production, and then you said they haven't even started production on Strange New Worlds. I'm very
I don't know what's going on with Strange New Worlds, in all honesty. They're probably on their 4th showrunner before they even shoot a frame of it.
That's the show I want.
That's the show most people want. But according to, and we talked about this last week or the week before, according to Jerry Ryan, Picard season 2 will be, or it's at least planned to go into production February 1st. But from what I had read, Discovery, actually Tig Notaro was talking about how she doesn't want to travel to Toronto more than maybe twice throughout the season, so she won't be on it that much in season 4.
She what in it like 2 or 3 times this season anyway for like 5 minutes apiece.
Yeah, I think that they and I think that what she mentioned is that they would probably, when she's there, she'll film for a couple of episodes, and but so she said that they started in November. So somewhere closer to May, she expects to go for some of the later episodes. So the show will come back, but people in the chat were mentioning this. And as I mentioned, I did get a text about this. It did feel like, okay, and I think when they made it, they probably didn't know. I mean, this is a show for a streaming service that, as Tom pointed out, nobody has. A streaming service that's going to have a new name sometime this year. It's going to be called Paramount Plus. So maybe they're like, well, we have these other Star Trek series in the work. Maybe we don't need more Discovery. So they probably didn't know. So I think they did a good job. If that had been the end, it would have been like, all right, yeah, they went off and it was more like Star Trek. Let's give them terrible uniforms. But other than that, we're going to make it like Star Trek. And I mean, even using the original theme over the end credits, which I think they also did last year as well, but to sort of throw to kind of bring it on home a little bit, it was just like, yeah, this could have been the end. But I'm personally, I don't know, Nikki, you tell me what you think. This was a topic that came up a lot throughout the course of the season of Discovery. I'm just glad that the last words of this show aren't going to be, let's fly.
I'm not going to even lie to you. So my partner does not like Burnham at all. My partner, she was an episode behind. I came downstairs last night and she literally paused the show, threw the remote control away from her and was like, she's just overacting. I don't understand. It's too much. She was very upset about the whole situation. And it got to me a little bit. I think that I have gotten a little poisoned by my partner on Burnham because the way that the show ended. First of all, Sonequa, who I do love, Sonequa Martin Green, I love her, I do, but she was at maximum melodrama this season.
She was, as we like to say on this show, she was at Warp Factor 10. Go on.
Look at the bright side. Whenever she had a scene with Osira, there was the perfect amount of acting for two people in that scene.
In one, right?
One person was doing it all, and the other person was doing nothing.
Right. So we now in our house have what we're calling the Burnham look, which is
yeah.
So
you should also be fighting back tears while you make that look.
Yeah, yeah. So I was so undone by her becoming captain and Saru going away. I actually at the end of the season, I wanted it to be I wanted Saru to still be captain. I wanted Michael to maybe be a first officer. I don't know, but I didn't want her to be captain yet. I feel like she got, like you said, Christian, she's been rewarded for bad behavior, and she started as a traitor. She started a war. And so now we're at this place where she's the captain. I actually have not had a problem with, her being a wild card this whole time. That's who she is. She's a wild card, but she can't be the captain yet. I feel like she hasn't earned it. And what
you're saying Ensign Tilly is more qualified than Burnham to be captain?
I think that Ensign Tilly. No, I don't think she's more qualified, but I think she has a more suitable temperament to become captain.
Yeah. Ensign Tilly hasn't undermined Federation like 4 times.
I think that Tilly, however, many years of service she puts in, I do think one day, she would be ready to be a captain, and she would be more of a by the book captain, and that's not necessarily, that doesn't make for good Star Trek. That's for sure. So, I think that, I understand that his idea, you're right. Vance's explanation is not a great one, but it's clearly what they wanted to go into season 4 with.
Yeah.
So,
and Burnham, you may use your fingers to do basic addition, but you get there all the same.
Yeah. Can someone also explain to me that last fight when she threw Michael into the touch computer?
Wait.
Does that remind you of Star Trek 3 with Richard Pryor when what was his name?
Robert Vaughn.
Robert Vaughn. That's right.
If you want to talk about Superman 3, we'll come back next week. I don't want to. Don't bring me down there.
I was thinking Robert Vaughn the whole time I saw that
Chris
scene.
Robinson. Don't you think if Michael was any other character, she would have died in the gloop she was chucked in? I had that thought for a split second, but it was immediately replaced with, oh, so 2 slugs in the gut and Osiris dead. I expected the post-credit scene where she stood up and was like, well, now I'm going to get away. And
it opens her eyes or something, right?
At least I predicted that she was going to get sucked out into space. That's what I said was going to happen to her last week. And just a couple of very unceremonious shots. I'm like, okay.
I have to get this in here somewhere. This episode felt so... Tom?
I don't know what Tom's doing.
Because there was a lot of unnecessary camera spinning throughout the whole final episode.
There was. I actually paused at some point to look at to see who the director was. Olatunde was the director, and there was a lot of...
Was it the same person who directed the Blair Witch Project?
But
yeah, it was me.
Wait. I have to make this point. This episode had so much Star Wars in it for me.
Yeah.
With the dot 23s, that thing that Osiris pushed Burnham into, I was like, is that Han Solo getting
carbonated?
The elevators of the future are right out of Attack of the Clones, Coruscant. Which, by the way, if anybody says anything, the elevator. I thought that we were done with this last week. Last week was Die Hard, and this was more Die Hard. They were like, we didn't get enough Die Hard in here, so let's have them go climb to the top of the elevator.
Well, it was also like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in that final combat, like hanging off scaffolding and crap. Like it was so much Star Wars.
That's true. Osiris should have fallen down the elevator shaft. Basically, when Burnham let go of her watch.
Several things about that. One is they've already established they've got these personal transporters now. So what do you need turbo lifts for? Second, why is there that much open, empty space in the middle of Discovery? You're seeing them go through the turbo lift, and it's like, this is a ship. It's like cavernously open. So apparently everybody just lives on the periphery of the ship, and the entire 90% of it is just hollow in the middle. So it's like an Easter chocolate rabbit.
Yeah. By the way, the Discovery is delicious if you eat the ears first.
If you eat the nacelles first.
Yeah. If I just may point out, and again, this is like an inconsistency that goes back to the JJ universe. They had the big turbo lift scene in Star Trek 2009. I actually wrote down what are the things that annoys me about Discovery is even the inconsistent art direction, and you three just hit it. I wrote notes on this, and I'm like, this is going to bore people, and I'm glad this annoyed you guys. On my list of notes is you're telling me, like, when in that scene, she gets pulled into a sea of microchips where she's actually choking on the microchips, and then she has to go and switch around 8 tracks in an 8-track player. Like, did you see that?
Yes.
I mean, who's doing art direction?
To be fair, she had the 8 tracks of all 4 Kiss solo albums, and you have to play them at the same time.
You gotta admit, how many episodes of The Next Generation, which was peak Star Trek, involved them trying to rearrange all the chips, and they were those yellow glossy ones.
Isolinear chips,
Isolinear chips. And it was always Data going in there and doing it super fast. So, this felt with that. I honestly half expected that when she came out of that, the microchip thing, that she was going to be like half cyborg. Did anybody think that? Like she was going to come out and be all like,
she was getting assimilated? Something felt
sweet.
Yeah, I thought something technological would happen to her because we didn't know what that thing was. Even the fact that we didn't know what that thing was, and she got pushed into it, and all we got for explanation or follow-up was that she puked up some of it or coughed up some of it. Like, what was that thing?
I think it was just a refrigerator, to be honest. That's what it was.
I felt like they missed an opportunity there. They missed a lot of them, but that was a place where all these throwaway things that they give us, all this throwaway exposition and explanation, like that would have been nice to have explained in some way earlier, like so that we knew what was happening when she was getting pushed into that thing.
Well, yeah, I would like to have understood that, and also just at some point mention, oh yeah, we put in new elevators, because I was just like, wait, where are they? I actually had to pause it, and I had to I rewound it a little bit. I'm like, where did they just go? Weren't they in the turbolift? And the answer is yes, but these ones work differently. And I'm like, man, that retrofit sure was fast. It was in the course of 10 minutes, they did everything.
There's actually, and this is where they obsess over stupid details. They obsess over stupid details and they double down on it. Like there's a Short Trek episode where it's just Rebecca Romaine and Spock in a turbolift and they show the giant space. The other thing they're doubling down on, I have watched Star Trek my whole life for 44 of the 50 something years. I don't care how the hell the replicators work. I just want to know they are. I don't need Admiral Just for Men telling me that it's made from
I've never had a real apple.
Shit. That it's a shit apple.
I've never had a real apple.
Shit apples are the best apples. So Michael B always points out he's always much smarter than certainly I am. Was it programmable matter in its raw form? That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
But it also, I don't know, it was just sort of, we're expected to understand stuff. And, some of us watch more Star Wars than Star Trek, so we're not smart enough to understand it. I need these things explained to me.
Well, Nikki made the point. Like Star Wars is fantasy and you suspend. You don't care how the mining plant works.
Right.
Star Trek, they're, part of the joy of watching Star Trek is maybe imagining how the warp nacelles work. Yeah. Like they finally showed the warp core for the first time in the whole series just to eject the core. Where are the little people who work there? It made no sense if you are a Star Trek fan. If you are a Star Wars or a generic science fiction space opera fan, you just suspend belief that, okay, but I actually looked this up while you guys were talking. The ship is supposed to be only 18 decks, and they were in the elevator for a whole 40-minute fight scene.
Right. Yeah. Things like that I do nitpick about Star Trek, but you're right. I've never once looked up what Newanga means for Star Wars. So it's just, I just take it. You're right. I get the point.
Well, I think the only word you need to know what it means for Star Wars is McClunky, but that's besides the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So can we talk about something that is not a major story point, but boy, did it distract me. Everybody's okay and I'm talking this from a behind the scenes standpoint from the decision making. The fact that, and I did look up, her name is Owo, that she can hold her breath for 10 minutes. I'm sorry. Anyone can hold their breath for 10 minutes. I saw the Mission Impossible movie where Tom Cruise makes it very clear he can hold his breath for about 3 minutes. And if Tom Cruise can't hold his breath for 10 minutes, then no one can hold their breath for 10 minutes. So I'm calling bullshit on that.
Maybe she's not human. Is she not human? Maybe
well, they did explain that she was from a technologically bereft society. So she has very strong survivalist instincts, but 10 minutes is a lot of minutes. That's all I'm trying to say. And I think she's certainly humanoid. It's not like she has an extra set of lungs. And if she did have an extra set of lungs, they would have been like, it's okay. I can hold my breath for 10 minutes because I have 4 lungs. That's great. Say that. I don't know. So maybe I'm the only person in all of
I've never seen Bear Grylls hold his breath that long. So you're right. We're never going to get it done.
If I just may chime in, I'm trying to find a picture to prove my expertise on this here. As a former professional underwater dancer and scuba diver who did this for a living, I knew some great people who were good at holding their breath. I worked at a theme park where there was underwater dancing. We'll save that story for another show. But
say what you did there, and then we'll move on.
I was a male mermaid in a mermaid show.
And
I need to see the pictures of that, please.
You're out there.
I need to go to there. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, when your partner and I have our own anti-discovery podcast and we have you on as a guest, then I'll show you.
But Craig Robinson sort of chimed in.
But anyway, 3 minutes. But the best breath holder I knew could do it 3 minutes once. Yeah. And that person held their breath, practiced every damn day, 3 minutes once, and it was 2 minutes tops. That's the end of my rant. You're right, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. Yeah. So it and she wasn't having any trouble right up until the moment where it was really important for her to have trouble breathing, and she's like, I'm doing really fine.
So, and now I'm out of oxygen.
Yeah, and they did the fake out a couple times. We're like, oh my god, is she dead? Oh my god, was Book not able to communicate with the
mushrooms?
Yeah. Which, by the way, in the chat, somebody pointed out, so we don't really need Stamets anymore, do we?
Right. Honestly, you were talking about your favorite characters, and early on, Stamets was one of my favorites. But this last half of the season, he's really had not much to do.
I would say this was the season that I liked him the most up until a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I did like the very knowing glance that he gave to Burnham. He's like, "Yeah, I'm with my family. Oh, and by the way, fuck you, you're still dead to me."
Yeah.
But now she's the captain.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's gonna be fascinating when you meet the captain.
I wanted to like Adira, but it's like she's got, I don't know. There's just nothing to do with her. I don't know.
And again, it was too much. Like I really think they wasted the trans storyline on a Trill, because then you could just write it off as, oh, well, it's because she's from a planet where you switch genders.
Fair. Yeah, no, I can understand that. Yeah,
I definitely made a big deal about that at the beginning of the season, like Star Trek's first transgender relationship or whatever, and you're just like, oh, okay.
By the way,
the problem though is that why is it now 1,000 years in the future from our original Star Trek future? Why is it still an issue? Like my thing was, why did it have to be a conversation? Like people who are trans and non-binary should be completely, ordinary at this point in history, right? So why did we even have to
even at the point in history that Stamets comes from? I mean, like the fact that he's from 1,000 years before where Adira is from, you would think, and look, that is one of the things that Star Trek does. It's for us, Right. I mean, do you think that the original series episode with the black and white cookie, black side this face, white side this face, and then the reverse white side here, that wasn't really for them, that was for us, so sometimes they make those points because they feel it's important. And I do find Adira an interesting character, but it's a little bit. Well,
I'm disappointed by
what I'll say is I find potential, and I prefer Gray as a Vulcan, and I'm a little disappointed if we don't see Gray as a Vulcan next time.
We need non-binary Vulcans is what we need in that show. Well, and would be a lot more interesting.
No, and again, this is everything with Discovery. It changes to what suits the story in that 10 seconds. I have no doubt in my mind that she was meant to be a she. And then they said, you know what? Let's just make her whoever. I know we just finished the script on 7. And I prefer they.
Well, honestly,
Tom, I don't hate the show the way you do, but I also can't find ways to disagree with some of the things you're saying. I don't hate it, but I'm also like, he's kind of right. Yeah.
Well, I think that decision comes from casting. It wasn't written that way. But then when you cast the actor that you do, you start to realize this is going to really work if we do this, I mean, theoretically, I don't know that based on anything, but I feel like that might be what it is. So that might be why it wasn't written that way. But I am trying to make a lot of excuses for the abusive boyfriend that is Star Trek Discovery.
Phrasing it as a compliment, like what was great about the first.
That's a great plotline. What if Gray becomes an abusive boyfriend in season 2? Like he starts smacking the crap out of her, but nobody can see him doing it because he doesn't exist. And you just see her, and she's just going.
I don't know. Can Gray physically hurt them?
Gray, just wait, hang on. For the sake of my future career, I'm going off camera for the next 30 seconds.
I have to work this out. This is a great plot.
Gray could be emotionally abusive, but I don't think Gray could hurt them. I don't think Gray could actually. I mean,
the fact that Gray disappeared for a while was a little abusive. Like it was, it was, the idea of sort of withholding your love from someone is a form of abuse, and that when she disappeared,
and Gray doesn't. Yeah, when we found out that Gray did it by choice, it wasn't just I don't know what happened. You know, it was like, I just kind of figured you were having too much fun without me, you know? So it was basically like Adira checked out their read receipts and it's like, well, Gray's seeing all my messages. But why is he not writing back to me? God damn it, Gray. I know you read this.
You know Gray is going to be a regular in season 4. You just know it because they've already said, look, that 125-year-old Kelpian hollow ability made Gray corporeal. So you know they're just, you know.
Yeah. But that technology, but that hollow technology got destroyed when the ship got destroyed. So they may not be able to
they'll make it work. I'm just calling it now. We're going to see a lot of Gray in season 4.
Yeah.
Not just the uniforms.
If I don't look for any information on the show, I watched this season of Discovery, the last episode or two, and I'm like, whose contracts are up? That's what it felt like. like Doug Jones without the makeup, like they just forced that. You know, like it was like
that was a pointless plot line too.
I do think that was a thank you for 3 years of sitting for 7 hours. Yeah. But then it also made me laugh though. It's like, well, once he had more radiation burns, he still had to get some prosthetic. It didn't take anywhere near as long. But it's like, remember we told you didn't need it. Well, you're gonna get a little bit. You're gonna get.
I have a question.
Have you ever looked up Doug Jones's like IMDb? Like he almost always plays somebody in prosthetics. He was like the fish in that Fish in the Shape of Water,
and he's a vampire in what we do in the shadows.
He's like never himself on camera ever.
Nikki, what is your question?
Raise your hand.
I feel like I have to. My question is, so that creature thing that was in the hollow world was like just sort of his manifestation of his fear of that room.
So
we never really saw that creature thing resolve itself or dissolve itself.
So that creature is called a Gormagander, and that appeared in the season 1 episode Magic to Make the Sanest Men Go Mad. So it's a creature that has been introduced before, but yes, its usage here I think was to represent what we saw as the horrible realization of watching his mother die. And by the way, you didn't have to tell him that he caused the burn. You could have eased into that. He's like, I did this. He's like, yeah, you sure did, buddy. You know what?
By the way, that's the worst part about this whole season.
What was that, Jason?
The burn story. Yeah. It's just
it was caused by a baby.
Yeah, literally. No. Okay.
And again, it was more of that. One of the things Christian always says he hates is when Star Trek does magic. And so to me, the kid being able to cause the burn, that was magic. That didn't work for me either. I agree.
Guardian of Forever is magic.
It could have been such a better whodunit mystery, and you come to find out that there was some plot or whatever. But we saw it coming from a mile away, but then this just seemed so
look,
stupid.
I think the realization of, the revelation for what the burn was could have been something really cool. It could have been at the, we didn't even see Klingons in the 31st century, by the way, so
I'm very happy about if they had introduced, if I had to look at any more of that freaking closed captioning of their horrible Klingons.
And this is for Flobo, but what if we had Takuvma?
Yeah. Was he the albino Klingon that they had? Was that
yeah.
I would love to see a Star Trek Discovery fan edit, because to Nikki's point about me being an awful human being before,
it's the Snyder cut.
No, that's just because you're from Long Island. That's really the only reason.
No, but I don't want to hate the show. I want to love it. It's just not there. And
I get that. That's how I feel about the card. Yeah.
I feel like if Kurtzman just hired me as a consultant, I'd work cheap. I'm telecommuting now. I'll be in your bubble. Whatever you need. Let me read the script, bounce some ideas off me. Let me watch a few rough cuts. I'll tell you what to cut out in a good way. I'm rooting for them. That, what it is. That's why I think Christian even has me here is I'm rooting for the show. It just falls short every damn time. Like the whole friggin' burn plot. We didn't need to know what caused the burn. We could have explored the 900-year-old computer and done that next season.
Yeah,
I
agree.
And the burn was caused by a baby. It's like the lesson there was don't have children because then they're going to ruin everything for you. That's
Jason. No, Jason and I can attest to that. Yeah, that's 100% accurate.
Yes,
we have 5 kids between the two of us.
Yeah, you know what it is? If like I was trying to find a better joke for this all day was the lesson I got was if you have a baby, you're going to have to move all your science fiction stuff somewhere else.
100%. By the way,
especially now that they allow F-bombs in Star Trek. That's the problem. I want to watch the show, and my kids come in. And they're really into Star Wars now, and they know I watch a show called Star Trek. So every time I'm up in my room watching it, they see aliens, they're interested in it, but I don't know if I can let them watch it because there's always 2 to 3, inappropriate things in Star Trek now.
They should do like a TV PG edit, and I'm just legitimately, I mean that.
Well, they
and
did
it's
that
so you
for
can
that
watch
Michael Jordan documentary. You could watch the unbleeped on ESPN, and then they had the bleeped version on ESPN too. And I don't know why they don't have that as an option, but
yeah, I had never thought about that actually. That the cussing in the show makes it difficult to watch it as a family.
Yeah, and I used to.
That's sad.
I used to watch Star Trek watching it with my mom. I think you too, right?
It's a family show, but it's not
I
now.
would watch. Yeah, I would watch Next Generation. I mean, at first run with at least my parents and usually my brother or sister. So we would all watch it.
I mean, there's a brief flash of Klingon bare breasts in season 1.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Where? Because I got to look that up. Really?
Well, it was when he's having his flashback. Because remember
I missed that
the Emperor.
I remember.
The sexual partner with him, and she's like, "You don't remember me?" And there's literally a scene. It's almost like the scene in Fight Club where Brad Pitt's got what's her face on top of him. I can't remember her name from Alice in Wonderland.
But, and if I may comment, John just made a point too about the cursing, and it's the cursing is forced. It's not like they're like, like at least in Star Trek Generations when Data cursed,
that was super funny.
John makes the point here that it's apples. The man's cursing about apples. Really, is that really the moment to bring Star Trek up to rated R?
Right.
Shitty apples.
Especially with Picard. There was a lot of ridiculous F-bombs with Picard for like no reason at all.
Do not bring up Picard. I don't have the bandwidth to get angry like that today.
I do love saying though, Admiral Potty Mouth.
I can't do it.
We should wrap up in a few minutes, so we definitely shouldn't get into Picard. But I was thinking that if they did do a TV PG edit, he would be like, Vance would be like, our apples are made from poop. I mean, just how great that would be. Yeah, right, exactly. From Nikki's that's right from the replicator. So
it'd be like Die Hard poopy apples, mother plucker.
Yeah, yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon. If we're going to bring our Die Hard conversation full circle, that is the TV edit for Die Hard. So I think that one of the reviews that I read of this episode of Discovery used the word anticlimactic. And this season ended in an anticlimactic way. The burn revelation was hugely anticlimactic. They were building to something that could have been cool. I didn't dislike the season. I thought that there was a lot of great character work on the season. Up until the last couple episodes, I did really think we got a lot of good stuff out of Culber. I think him and Hugh, Stamets, Hugh, and Adira and Gray as well. The sort of this family unit. I think that's interesting to explore, and obviously, explore the Brave New Worlds. That's what we should really be doing. But I look forward to kind of seeing more of that. I would assume that Saru is not gone, but maybe he's just, maybe he's not going to be a regular next year, or more than likely, Michael's probably going to fuck everything up, and you're going to need a new captain. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Someone in the chat suggested that they should do some short treks with Stikal and Saru, so we can see. I would like that too, and it would allow Saru to come back without without us being like, what the fuck? Where was he? What happened? Why? What was he? What's he been doing? And also, can you just bring up really quickly what Jacob Downey just said about me? I just want to put that up there. It's not my ego. It's just I just want.
I don't have the bandwidth to get angry today. Nikki B. Hashtag
I just
yes, thank you, Jacob.
I just needed that to be highlighted.
And look, Jason's going to point out that I have the best shirt, so I'm going to have to put that up too. I mean,
wait, if we're gonna do stuff, I also just re-dyed my hair brighter pink. So what else? Who else has something? What?
I also thought that Saku, the Kelpian, the kid who caused the burn,
Sukal
burn baby.
Yeah, the actor, it was just too on the nose with the way he talked like this.
He seemed like who was Quark's brother?
Yeah,
he seemed like that actor. Yeah, it seemed like Rom, and I actually looked it up to see if it was Rom, but it was like, oh, cool. Did they give him a role like 30 years later? The answer is no, they did not.
Right.
If I could just tag on what Jason's saying, I feel like the acting, and I'm going to get in trouble for this 3 years later, but I feel like it was almost like he was making fun of the developmentally different, like doing a bad impersonation.
A little bit, yeah.
I agree.
And it had a Flowers for Algernon type feel to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like
it's the first time I've ever said this about an actor's work, but the performance was actually offensive to me.
It was a little bit Gilbert Grape, maybe a little too much. I agree.
It made me think of sorry, I interrupt you a lot.
No, that's really what the show is everybody interrupting each other, trying to fight their way to making a statement. That's fine. All the shows I do are basically like that. Yeah. But like they said in Tropic Thunder, you don't go full R word.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, I literally said that the other night. I was like, you don't go full.
We don't use that word anymore, but they did in that movie. Let's take a moment to remember Iron Man in blackface in that movie as well. By the way, so
thanks, Cheryl.
Oh God.
Oh, my mom. My mom thinks you have great hair, and as I told you, Nikki, my wife loved your hair. She doesn't watch this show because she doesn't watch Star Trek in general, but she did see a little of it on Facebook, and she also appreciated your views on Wonder Woman. But we're certainly not going to have that conversation right now.
But for the record, I got a compliment on my hair from Admiral Just for Men. He was like, great before picture.
My mom makes the point. He was socially isolated all his life. He may not have been a great conversationalist. I think that developmentally, he seemed a little slow, which would have almost made sense if he hadn't had any people for the last 120 years. But he was in this simulation populated with simulated people. But yeah, I think it was a choice the way that they had this actor.
I could see it being weird. It was too on the nose. Like I said, it was just too Flowers for Algernon.
Well, it's exactly what Michael B says. It was weird because all the holograms spoke, what we would consider to be normal. So there's no reason, but he is very childlike, and it's not like he's in his 30s and he's been a child. So he's had 125 years of being childlike. So I think that it stands to reason that it would be stunted, but what we're criticizing isn't the writing, it's the acting choice, which I think a lot of what we say on this show falls into two categories. Either the writers fucked up or the actors fucked up. It's usually one of those two things.
And how many episodes ago did we meet Sukal?
It wasn't last week because they didn't touch that storyline last week. So it was
it
was episode 11. Yeah.
And last week, Jonathan Frakes was the director too. So I just wonder too if that was an intentional for the director, and or did he let the actor make whoever introduced Sukal that was the director for that?
Honestly, that's probably a showrunner conversation with the director.
Yeah.
But
that's a shame. It's a shame because they had the possibility of creating a character that you would sympathize with but not pity. But they set it up so that you ended up pitying, and it was this really yucky kind of. It made me uncomfortable too. Yeah.
And you know what it was too? It was lazy writing again. The guy, he was genetically connected to dilithium, and made dilithium blow up. I had an ex genetically connected to gold, but she never made that blow up.
Did you write that down somewhere?
I'm actually going through. There's a lot of. I have about 6 punchlines that I need to get to before you end the show.
Okay, we're gonna end the show soon. Do you just want to? What
was the episode name? What was the episode name again?
I don't have it here.
Unfortunately, it was not all good things. But
no, come on. Oh God, none of you.
That Hope Is You Part 2.
See, I had it down as That Stank Is You for Real.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and we'll end on that. I was very excited about That Stank Is This episode. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think that when I think back on the season, I'm gonna think about what I liked. I think there was potential for Osira, even with the casting of Lois Lane's niece. But I think that, look, once you cast her, once you have it, it's like, don't just kill her like that. So it's like, I felt pretty strongly that she wasn't going to last through the season. She wasn't going to make it into next season just for story reasons, but just give us something else.
On the plus side, if you cast her and she dies, then Discovery just has to go backwards around the planet really, really fast, and then she comes back alive.
That's the only way you save it. That's absolutely true. Thank you, Jason. I wish I had my bell, but it's over there.
Good. I enjoyed that. That was really good.
Can I make a comment that will get me sent to 31st century human resources?
Oh, please do.
Yeah. That acting is why green women should just dance and wear no clothes.
By the way, Jabba the Hutt also felt that way. I'm just going to say that's consistent for all genres. That apparently in all of science fiction, green women are just supposed to dance.
Dog. You're a dog. A dog. A dog.
We're going to wrap up in a couple minutes. So anybody in the chat want to get in any final thoughts? I'd love to bring in our friends Michael B. and Craig Robinson, who have been so great with us all season. Obviously, everybody in the chat. But, you guys have always kind of been there. And earlier, somebody had pointed out the fact, I forget who it was. Oh, yeah. William points out the fact that something that I forgot. This show airs on Netflix everywhere in the world except North America. So
there's talk that Netflix is thinking of possibly buying the Star Trek property from basically Paramount. Yeah. Not that, I mean, Paramount would still produce it and own it, but basically rather than run it on CBS.
I mean, it's the licensing rights in the rest of the world that pay show. I mean, the thing that you can't really knock, except occasionally I'm stunned when they cheap out on effects, because the rest of the time it's so impressive. No Star Trek show has ever looked like this before. I mean, just Picard is close, I guess, but this was first. This streaming model where you get all this money from international sales. The show looks great. And if only the writing was always consistent with it. But I
love this model of television production where you get a huge budget and nobody has to like your show. I need my talk show to be on CBS All Access. Yeah, Callum Kelly's awful. Give him another season.
I'd like to see you with Admiral Vance. I think you guys would do a good show together.
You'd make a great before picture.
Yeah, I still don't get the streaming thing, because I remember when Joel McHale took basically The Soup to Netflix and it ran like 13 episodes, and they were like, "No, this is crap." I'm like,
I think it depends on where you bring it. CBS All Access is built on getting money from the four of us basically, but people just like us. They want to get money from Star Trek fans, and the pandemic has definitely thrown a monkey wrench in there, because they don't have another show lined up for till maybe the end of the year, but I don't think till next year.
There's no the good fight season 4.
All right, so everybody talked at once. Nikki, we'll go clockwise. Nikki, what did you say?
I was going to say we're going to cancel obviously our CBS All Access subscription now that there's no Star Trek. There's no need to pay for that. And I would love it if Netflix got the Star Trek, since they took The Office away from Netflix. I don't even see the point of Netflix anymore right now. I'm just really grieving that loss.
Why you need Peacock Premium. Tom, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to throw a question out to the three of you. I hate to say this, but I think I liked Lower Decks better than Discovery this season.
We can't weigh in, but Jason, your reaction to that?
No. Lower Decks, I don't think you watched it, Christian, but I said Lower Decks is the idea of a bunch of corporate suits thinking that they're edgy. and that it was sort of like, we're making like, you know, raw, and it's on the edge, but it's so not. It's like it's corporate suit edgy, and that's just where it falls flat. But
what were you going to say before, Jason? Instead of reacting,
I'm sorry to throw you off there.
That's all right. No. I wanted to make sure.
I just said CBS All Access without Star Trek would be tough. I mean, you know, you got Aerial America on the Smithsonian Channel is really good. You can watch, you know, Aerial Kansas and Aerial Delaware, and you learn a lot of stuff.
I never watched season 2 of Twilight Zone. I liked half of the first season, and I might check out The Stand, but none of these are things that are going to keep me subscribed. And just
thank you, Jacob. Thank you.
I was going to bring Jacob in. I was going to compliment Nikki's hair, but I was focusing on the content of her character instead of her physical appearance. Thank you, Jacob.
You know, with MLK Day coming up, that was a perfectly wonderful thing to say. I love that. Thank you.
Let's bring Craig into the chat. I said earlier the episode could have been a whole lot shorter without a lot of the Sukal stuff, but overall watchable. You know what? I do agree, but the way I look at that is that's good Saru stuff, kind of dealing with his people who he thought he was never going to see again. So I think that's a little bit more character building for the future. I agree we didn't necessarily need so much, but again, it's a streaming service, so that's why the episode was an hour and 1 minute. He does think, Craig does, that season 4 will be interesting, bringing it back to Trek basics. And I think that...
Wouldn't that be nice, though? I mean, I hope
we kind of thought that for season 2, and then it didn't really happen. And then I think the whole funny part about season 2 was the whole thing about her wanting to reconcile with her mom, and then she brings the whole ship 1,000 years into the future, and is like, "Oh, hey, mom, hey, I gotta go."
Yeah, and mom's like, "I'm a nun now."
Yeah, it's like
she called her mom for help, and we didn't get to see the mom.
We didn't get anything. They basically did like a blockade, and they did nothing with that. They come to the rescue, and we don't see any of it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that came up, because that was one of the things that as I was watching it and the show ended, I'm like, so we did nothing with that, you know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I'd also like to see. I know in season 2 that evil character. In the holodeck, I thought it was the Ba'ul or whatever. Remember in season 2, they were the people that had sort of enslaved the Kelpians and made them think that they would die when they had their you know. And remember that was like this real freaky looking alien. It came out of the liquid, and apparently my kids are ready for me to go. But
yeah, I have company.
Yeah, but you know, I thought that was one of those characters, but apparently it's a different character altogether. But now that they're back, I would love to see how that, you know, now that the Kelpians are not living in fear, how their sort of dual society works now, and did they achieve balance, or did they actually like destroy the Ba'ul or whatever?
I do agree with Michael, by the way. I would rather have seen the nuns versus Old Girl, which is what Michael always refers to Osira as, Old Girl's henchman. The fact that we didn't get a cool fight sequence, and instead it was like, you know, Die Hard on the turbo lift, and then Michael gets pushed into some goop.
And then also the Peyton Manning guy that wears and he's in the Christopher Pike wheelchair now. Yeah. Like, what's his deal? Like, he's supposedly some scientific genius, but is he pro Emerald Chain, or is he now with the Federation, or is he going to...
Clearly, I think he's going to still be with us, because he's literally the only one who survived, and he was like on the bridge, you know, towards the end of the episode. So.
And you know what my favorite line was?
Say that he was spared by Osira. She helped him somehow, because usually they would have, I guess, killed someone who was born with whatever disability
defect.
So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting. What were you going to say, Tom?
No, like, well, first to Nikki's point, I thought that guy being in a wheelchair, which was forced, was just a forced way of trying to make Osira likable.
Well, also that
actually
legitimately in a wheelchair, though. So it's
that's cool. Like, is he in a wheelchair now?
Yeah, like they had used him for some other alien parts, and he's been in a wheelchair for about 2 years. Okay. So they really liked him. So
he used to be on the show Jericho. I used to watch.
Oh, I do remember.
Really good. And he was not in a wheelchair.
But I do agree though that character I thought made Osira at least more interesting because she was very one-dimensional until we got that. She was only 1.5 dimensional. Anyway, we're all going to go in a moment, but I know Jason, I feel like you have 3 kids vying for your attention because I'm sure it's dinner time. So,
Wait,
Jason,
could we end the show with bringing Jason's kids in and telling them what apples are made of?
No. Yeah. Just make sure you tell them that when you sit down at the dinner table, let them know that whatever mommy made for dinner tonight is made out of shit.
No, that's how we do it.
and it was even how he broke it down. No, that's how we do it. We shit in a toilet, and then it goes into the thing, and then the thing breaks it apart, and then it puts it in my mouth.
There's actually a whole episode of Storybots that my son watched that actually talks about how I don't know if Felix has
my son watches Storybots.
He explained the whole thing to me one day. We're walking to school. He's like, and then it goes down the drain, and then it goes to a sewage treatment plant, and blah blah blah, blah and then it ends up in the ocean.
The toilet episode of Storybots is probably the most watched.
And if I may say, I feel like Discovery has been written by Storybots. If you told me 2 years from now that all of Discovery was written by an AI, like a Google AI, like not a good AI, but a 21st century AI, where it's just like, all right, plot. Star Trek fans like green women. Green woman, make her likable. Handicapped person, blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, Trills are transgender. Like, I feel like that's what it's been written on. It's just like a machine just jamming in things we would like. I don't know why I'm making a cow milking gesture, but you get what I'm saying.
We should do a Storybots type show, but it explains all the tech of Star Trek. And that would be a good show. And if it's Star Trek, and then,
Yeah, like here we go. Like, a starship, 18 decks, but 90% of it is elevator space.
Some bad design. All right, Jason, we'll let you go. We'll just wrap up in a moment. But if people want to follow you on Twitter, it's at Jason P. Blair. But remember, don't expect anything from it.
A few months later, don't delete your tweets and stop watching the Blackcast and do all this stuff so that when I log on in 2 or 3 months, I can figure out what actually happened. So
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, well, and send me those screenshots because I want to see what happened.
Yeah, it's someone who decided that they needed to leave the Blackcast after 409 episodes. I think that I couldn't believe we kept them as long as we did. Anyway, Jason Blair, thank you for your time as always. Give our regards to the family. We always appreciate Jason making the time for us. I don't know if we have any other final thoughts. What I do want to ask you, Tom, in our final minute or two, big picture, is Tilly, where does she rank in your least favorite Star Trek characters of all time? She can't be number one, right? I just don't feel like it's possible.
No, I believe, okay, if you asked me this question before Picard, Tilly was the absolute worst character on all 50 years of Star Trek for me. Hang on. Now I would rank Admiral Potty. She is definitely the most offensive series regular for me.
Sure.
Okay. I would rank Admiral Pottymouth from Star Trek Picard is actually the worst. Like she comes in and is like, fuck you, Picard. Like it was just forced and angry. Yeah. In retrospect, I always enjoyed Wesley Crusher because I was 14 when I first saw Star Trek. In retrospect, I could see why people were annoyed by him. But he had at least a couple of good episodes that made me feel like the difference between Discovery and Next Generation is Next Generation wrote Wesley out by season 3. We're not going to do the same with Tilly. I feel like Tilly has been beaten to death. Wesley was beaten to death and they finally pushed him out. Neelix was great for a couple of years and became useless. Did you?
Forever and ever.
Yeah. She does. Yeah.
I love Wesley Crusher forever and ever and always. Wesley Crusher will always be one of the loves of my life.
For always and forever.
Really? Wait, hold on. You know what? Have you noticed it? Have you noticed the trend? By the way, Nikki, I should have said this to Jason. I apologize for getting too animated and talking over people too much on this show because I thoroughly enjoy you.
Too, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's as you know, that's what every show I do is,
But if I may say, I feel like everything. I like Nikki as a person, and I think she likes me. So this is saying this. I feel like you love everything I hate about Star Trek, and vice versa.
It seems that way. It does seem that way.
Well, who are your 3 worst?
I actually cannot think of a character that I hate at the moment.
I'll talk about a few, and my mom has one of mine, which is Kess from Voyager. I also hate Neelix, and Raffi is at the top though from Picard. She stole the crown. But my hot take, and I've talked about it a lot of times, because of the importance of the character and how often we saw the character, I think my least favorite is Q, because Star Trek is not magic. Q is magic. If Q had been in one episode, I wouldn't even talk about him. But
I love Q.
I love
great actor. I think that there's some great interaction with him and Sir Patrick Stewart. But when
Sorry.
He chews the scenery.
Chews the fuck out of a scene. I love it though.
It's very entertaining. But when I break it down, he doesn't belong in Star Trek.
I find Q more believable than a baby who can blow up all the dilithium in the galaxy.
By the way, agreed. Yeah. That, I'm not saying that, but I might have to put Sakal as a dishonorable mention. Does anybody stand out for you? Can just pick one, Nikki. If
the only character I can think of that I absolutely hated was Raffi. I
didn't hate her till I hated her though.
I hated the first time she said JL.
Yeah.
I was done. I was like, oh no, she's not no kin to me. She ain't my friend.
And that actress Michelle Hurd was written out of Special Victims Unit in like the first season. She was on Law and Order SVU, and when you have to get written off of that show, that tells me everything I need to know. We could do another show about favorite characters because, like I said, my favorite characters.
I have so many.
That's not a look. There's. It's hard. Who people are going to pick as their favorite. There's not going to be a lot of wrong answers because if you're going to take somebody from the crew of the original series, like if somebody told me Bones was their favorite, I'm like, yeah, I could absolutely see that. You know, if you told me that Tasha Yar was your favorite, I would hang up. I would disconnect right away. Like that person.
I had the biggest crush on Tasha Yar when I was.
That's different though. That's different. That's not the same. That's not the same as liking the character.
And it's funny. And again, I like rewatching first season Next Generation when I'm trying to go to sleep at night. And there's an episode that features Q where they give Riker powers.
I remember that was a good one. Yeah, I remember that one.
But it really wasn't if you watch it again as a grown-up. Then there's a scene where Tasha Yar goes up to Picard, if you weren't my captain.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
there's the episode where she sleeps with Data. If you remember.
Oh my God, that episode was my teenage hormones. My teenage hormones went mad over that whole thing. They just loved that.
I mean, it was certainly interesting. Let's put it that way. The fact that he's fully functional functional. Yeah.
You know what it is with Star Trek? And I think we could apply this to Discovery. With Star Trek and Next Generation, they are the best things ever if you ignore like big chunks of it. Like if you ignore the episode where the hand grabs the Enterprise. Yeah. If you ignore the episodes, like there's half of the first season needs to be ignored, and then you suddenly love it. And with Discovery, I would say, if you just sort of ignore that Burnham started a war with the Klingons that didn't actually exist in the Prime universe, I can enjoy it a little more. Okay, something happened with Georgiou where she accidentally killed her. Like if you sort of like edit it in your head, the show's great.
That's fair. I think that could probably be true for a lot of entertainment, especially.
And you know what I hated about today's episode was, or this season was, there were a lot of callbacks to things that I kind of forgot.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because they didn't do anything with them. Yeah.
I was most offended by the notion that the Voyager would be the flagship starship in the Federation, but I did like that they had all the ships lined up to welcome Discovery home, like the series finale of Voyager. So I was a little torn in two directions there because I'm like, this is a nice touch, but where is the 31st century Enterprise? Because that's what we really want to see.
You know what there is though, and I just read this on one of the fan groups by accident. There was a USS Nog in tribute to the guy who played Aaron Eisenberg, who played Nog.
Nog. Yeah, he had passed away.
Yeah, and there was a Yelkin too. There was a Yelkin.
Anton Yelchin. I didn't realize that. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. So Anyway, we've gone a little long, as to be expected, but I don't know. I don't know what the verdict is. Is that Nikki and I like it more than you do, but when we really get to talking about it, there's a lot to pick apart. But it's it's probably still my second favorite show that I watched in the last year, second only to The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody wants me to watch the show where the girl from New Mutants plays chess. Look, I'll get to it, but something that has the word Star Trek in it is going to be more my favorite than watching the girl from New Mutants play chess.
Wait. You're telling me that over the last 2 years, Star Trek Discovery is one of your favorite shows?
1 year.
Over the last 1 year. Okay.
Well, because it's those two and Storybots, basically. So, you
need to watch Billions. First 2 seasons would be great.
No, I can't do it. I watched 2 of those, and Paul Giamatti, like having somebody like step on his testicles. And I'm just like, no, I'm out. I was out of that show almost as fast as I was out of The Leftovers, which is the other show people tell me that I should have watched. I've never seen a pilot that I disliked more, except for possibly Bob's Burgers. And I'm putting all of my hot takes here at the end for stuff that people
like Bob's Burgers.
I could probably go back and enjoy that legitimately, but I just didn't. The pilot didn't do it for me. But there's plenty of shows that I did.
New Saved by the Bell better than Star Trek Discovery across the board. If you get a chance.
Wow.
Don't pay for Peacock, but if you can pirate the show, it's actually fat. If you liked 30 Rock and you liked Saved by the Bell and you can let go of both, New Saved by the Bell is fantastic. And better than
I don't even know what to say to that.
I have a friend who's on it, and but I haven't watched it yet. And I told him it was great, even just because he's on it. But
that's like a half name drop. Who did you know on it?
His name is Rodney Hobbs. I think he plays I don't know who he plays. I don't even know.
I'll tell you who he plays.
This is what a terrible friend I am. But yeah,
he played the principal of another school.
Yes, the principal of another school.
That's cool.
He's funny.
So yeah. Well, he's a great guy. I just didn't see the show.
Well, tune in next week when we do the new Saved by the Bell after show. But Nikki, I want to give you some final words here because I know you're in the middle of something. But I need to go pick up my kids, so we have to wrap it up.
You need to go. Yes, you do. Oh, I have nothing to say except that I'm looking forward to. I am going to, of course, watch season 4 when it comes on because I'm just going to watch it. But I decided last night that I'm going to go back and try to watch Enterprise again. Just because I could never get through the first season. I'm going to try it.
If I could just, I know we're rushing. Just text me on Instagram. I'm going to give you a list of episodes. You can skip most of it because it's going to make you angry. There's 10 episodes.
I would appreciate that list too because I gave up on that show. I did watch most of the first season, but then I was out. And like the mirror universe that they did, like the second to last and third to last was at least entertaining. And then the series finale is one of the worst things that Star Trek has ever done. And I stand very strongly by that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible what they did. But in any case, if you want to continue the conversation with any of us, Nikki, where can people find you?
You can find me at Nikki Bailey _ on all the social medias except Snapchat because I don't get it. And you can find me at NikkiBaileyComedy.com. And
my mom says you should watch the last season of Enterprise first, which is interesting. And Tom, where can people find you?
So TomKellyShow.com. It's the gateway to all things Tom. I'm Tom Kelly Show on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I have a new podcast on which Christian was a great guest. And I'm actually trying to push that. And I got a mailing list there. I'm taking this week off from entertainment and we're back in full swing by this time next week.
So that's why this show was not at all entertaining, was because you've taken a week off of entertainment.
No, but for real, you know what? Honestly, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had to point that out. Huh?
I mean, you did set me up for that. I mean, what was I supposed to say?
Okay. Yeah, that stank was me.
Oh, Tom, we appreciate it. If you would watch the show more consistently, we would have you on more often. But usually, you just have to binge 6 episodes.
No, well, you tell me when you want me, and I'll binge a few episodes before.
All right.
Oh, by the way, I didn't want to say this in front of Jason. He's such a wholesome guy, but I've been pirating, so I don't feel used like I did the first 2 years. Like, there's nothing like getting that $9.99 bill. Like, I hated a show, and they made me pay $10. At least now I just hate it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I need one of you two to watch The Stand first for me to tell me if it's worth.
I'll let you know if it's worth stealing. I mean, I'll at least check it out. Although I don't know that 2021 is the year I want to watch a post-apocalyptic Stephen King show. But
I'm not watching that.
I get it. But I want to see Tom's friend Whoopi, so I will definitely check that out. But if you've enjoyed this show, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ and subscribe on YouTube to the Blackcast YouTube network. We have all the episodes of this show. We did a show for The Mandalorian here, and we are coming back next Friday with the Marvel Movie Talk, which will act as an after show for WandaVision, which is starting on Disney Plus on Friday.
And damn it, another service.
Yeah, well, that's the age we live in. You know, it's don't pay for cable, but pay for 9 services, and of course. The big dog is the Blackcast, BLADTCAST. That is where you find everything. That is the original show. And our political show has been rebranded as Biden Time, which has a name that has, see, people in comedy will usually all react like that. That's why we settled on it. And don't forget that you can find Jacob Downey Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel. He's in enough of the shows. Why don't I give him a plug? And I will be on, Jacob, I will be on your show soon. I am going to write to you. We'll figure it out. But thank you to everybody. Thank you to Nikki. Thank you to Tom. Thanks to Craig and Michael B. And I don't want to leave anyone out, so I do have to just say thank you.
Mother, your own friggin' mother.
Your mom. Yeah, thank your mom.
Oh, wait,
Cheryl.
my mom. Yes, thank you to my mom for consistently. My mom who texted me asking what other shows on my YouTube channel she could watch while she waited for this one. So yes, thank you, Mom. But we will we'll see you when there's more Star Trek. It's always fun to find a way to talk about it. But there's so many other things you can find us talking about. So please join us there. But until then, live long and prosper.